Got it.
Okay, here we go. So let me get to where's my notes? There they are. Okay. Okay, so this is our Promise Award winner interview with Onyinye Nwankwo, and we're going to hopefully do it in one. Welcome to Making Leaders, a series of conversations with people who are leaders of this fast-changing industry, as well as those likely to step into leadership in the future. My name is Robert Bell, Executive Director of SSPI. The Making Leaders campaign helps space and satellite companies realize their potential for attracting and retaining the talented people who are so critical to the industry's future. And speaking of talent, I do have to ask, are you space business qualified? Well, you are if you've registered for SBQ, a series of self-paced online training courses in the fundamentals of the space business, from launch and spacecraft, communications, and markets. They're produced by SSPI in partnership with the GSOA and the online training company SatProf. And you can learn more about SBQ at spacebq.org. That's spacebakerquebec.org. Today's conversation continues a series about the power of talent to drive our industry's success. It drops on the first Monday of every month as part of SSPI's weekly podcast program. And the Making Leaders series is made possible by the support of SSPI's corporate partners, including Access Intelligence, Hughes, and K&L Gates, and by the nearly 3,000 individual members of SSPI around the world. And if you're one of them, I thank you. I also want to take a moment to thank the space practice at Deloitte, the global consulting firm, for underwriting this year's award selection. Speaking of awards, in October of 2023, SSPI introduced its 20 under 35 employees and entrepreneurs of the year, selected from nominations from our global membership by an independent panel of judges. Now, all 21 are remarkable examples of early career talent and achievement, which you can see for yourself at 20under35.com. But our evaluation system does assign a score to each one. And members of the Space and Satellite Hall of Fame review the top scoring 20 under 35 and select just 3 of them to receive a Promise Award. And we expect great things of all of our 20 under 35, but the Promise Awards, well, they signal the judgment of the industry's Hall of Fame that these 3 people have futures ahead of them of the greatest promise. And we're speaking today with one of them, Onyinye Nwankwo. She is an accomplished scientist working to better understand how changes in Earth's upper atmosphere affect radio wave transmission. Now, if that doesn't mean a great deal to you at first glance, consider this. Most of the industry's revenue depends on sending radio signals between Earth and space. If something is in orbit and doesn't have a functioning radio, we call it space debris. So, as a changing climate changes the atmosphere, her award-winning research is paving the way for important advances in satellite communications and in prediction of space weather. Now, Onyinye comes from Nigeria, where she earned her bachelor's degree and served as a trainee radio signal officer for the Nigeria Port Authority. She went on to become a scientific officer with Nigeria's Space and Atmospheric Research Agency, and there she used her growing skills in data processing and imaging to investigate something called Airglow. That's the faint light emitted by our atmosphere at night, and it can actually reveal what's going on in the upper atmosphere. Now, leaving Nigeria, she gained 1 master's degree in space geophysics from Brazil's National Space Research Institute, and a second one in climate and space science from the University of Michigan in the US, and that's where she works today while completing her PhD. And when she's not working or studying, she mentors an atmospheric and space research program for high school students, as well as a University of Michigan STEM program for younger kids. Through volunteer work with the African Geophysical Society and the American Geophysical Union, she helps foster collaboration and collective progress in science. And all of that helps explain why she's one of our Promise Award winners. Onyinye, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Robert, and thank you for the pleasant introduction. Thank you.
No, certainly. Tell us a bit about the work you're doing now and the contribution that it's making in your view.
Okay, if currently I am working on studying the Earth's upper atmosphere. So this region is actually known as the ionosphere-thermosphere system. It's basically a region from about 90 kilometers to about roughly 500 kilometers above the Earth's surface. So this region is responsible for reflecting and absorbing and even refracting of radio signals that are being transmitted from Earth. So we studied the variability in this region due to its importance as a result of its reflection or transmission of radio wave. Without studying the variability of this region, we wouldn't know what happens to our radio signal. So we tend to study this. And this is why it is so important and paramount to know what happens in this region. And even how the outer space, like roughly around 1 AU, what happens there, like in the magnetosphere, could impact what happens in our Earth's upper atmosphere and how it affects our day-to-day life.
I love stories like this because it's something that we live with every day and we don't even know that it's affecting us. So what led you into the academic sector of this thing, the space industry?
Well, my journey into atmospheric and space sciences was driven by a blend of curiosity and the desire to solve real-world problems. Initially, my fascination with stars and the vast space during my undergraduate studies in physics sparked my interest. Back then, I was actually intrigued by how the mysteries of the cosmos could directly impact our daily lives, especially through technologies like GPS and satellite communications. So what actually solidified my decision to specialize in the field was witnessing the tangible effects of space weather phenomenal communication systems. Like during my time as a radio signal officer at the Nigerian Port Authority, I saw how solar storms and geomagnetic storm could disrupt satellite signals, affecting navigation and communication system. Like I remember one day, I was talking and giving directive to a captain on board a ship that is inbound to the port. Then boom, we lost communication. And the inbound ship almost collided with an outbound ship, of which we later realized that the loss of radio signal was due to a geomagnetic storm impact. So this first-hand experience of the practical implications of space weather made me realize the importance of the research area and solidified my decision to work in the area. Also, I have always thought to myself that the opportunity to contribute to a field that has such a direct impact on modern technology was compelling. The prospects of improving the reliability and efficiency of critical satellite-based systems through research was too significant for me to overlook. As such, choosing this particular research area was a natural convergence of my scientific interest and a desire to contribute to an industry that is vital to our everyday lives.
There was just a story actually today in the news about a major insurance company that's come out with an estimate of potentially trillions of dollars in damage from space weather. So yes, it's very, very timely. What in your career, which has taken you to so many different parts of the world, do you think is the biggest lesson that you've learned along the way, and how did you learn it?
That's a tricky one. I think the biggest lesson I have learned in my career so far is the importance of adaptability and embracing interdisciplinary approaches in research. Like the field of atmospheric and space sciences is inherently multidisciplinary in the sense that there is an intersection with physics, engineering, environmental sciences, and even science policies. So early in my career, I realized that having a deep understanding of just one aspect wasn't enough. I needed to be adaptable and open to learning from related fields. So I learned those, I get to learn those while doing my PhD research at the University of Michigan, where I study the influence of viscosity in the Earth's ionospheric atmosphere system. Initially, I approached my research problem primarily from a physics-based perspective. However, as I continued studying, I encountered aspects that required the understanding in areas like computer modeling. I had to do modeling. I had to even do data analysis and even a bit of chemistry to understand what I was doing. So this experience taught me that in order to succeed in this field, I require to be willing to step out of my comfort zone and learn from other disciplines. And I think, moreover, working at the Center for Atmospheric Research and back in Nigeria and as a radio signal officer, those experiences provided me practical insights into how atmospheric phenomena affect technology and our society. So this kind of like broadened my perspective, showing me the importance of considering practical applications and real-world problems in my research. As such, the multidisciplinary approach I have come to learn, they've not only kind of like enriched my research, but they've also kind of like enriched my problem-solving skills. Like they've taught me the complex problem often require multi-phased solutions and brings adaptableness and openness to learning from various fields. And that tells me like, this is the key to finding effective solutions.
Well, it is, and it's funny. It applies in the commercial world as well. One of the reasons
Mm-hmm.
we worked with GSOA and SatProf to build this online set of courses, Space Business Qualified, was because there is a set of working knowledge that if you're going to make sensible decisions from a business standpoint, you need to know. You need to understand all the different pieces of the puzzle that go
Exactly,
together,
because
including.
everything
Yeah,
tends to be interconnected.
exactly. Exactly. That is the key, and it takes, in my experience, it normally takes many years on your own to figure that out. Obviously, you've
Mhm.
got there ahead of the rest of us, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
The space and satellite today is growing very, very fast in many, many different directions, some of which will work and some of which will not. What parts of the business, from your perspective, are the most interesting right now?
Um, I would say what I feel like is interesting right now is the transportation in um in space missions, like for like space missions, the transportation is really interesting to me. And I think a lot of small base business, like private companies, are also looking into like venturing into this. But then I think the setback for this private companies or small business owners are the fact that the cost of this travel and the cost of this mission is really bringing them back. But then this is something that they are looking forward to, and it's something I feel this this would really be lucrative for our space economy. Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, and that's really, our friend Mr. Musk decided he was going to try to cut the cost of launch by 10 times, and he did. And now there's a whole bunch of other innovators, driving it further down and creating some very interesting, niches of small sat, low Earth orbit launch at prices that nobody could ever have imagined. So
Yeah.
this is going to get better and better as we go.
That I definitely know for sure. That I definitely know for sure, which make me believe that this is the future itself, like for space economy.
If you could go back in time, is there some career advice that you might have given yourself back when you were, let's say, in Nigeria, trying to decide what's going to happen next in your life? That the kind of thing you wish you'd known then that you now know?
Well, I think if I could go back in time and like advise myself, I would tell myself to be open to interdisciplinary learning and to seek diverse collaborations. Like I would emphasize to my younger self the importance of not just focusing or narrowing on a specific field, but to like explore related areas. Like I mentioned earlier how interconnected everything is. So the fact that I would make sure I advise myself to make sure like be open-minded and make those diverse collaboration. I would also remind myself to be patient and persistent. Like research can be filled with challenges and setbacks, and it's easy to feel discouraged. I'll make sure I tell my younger self that every failed experiment or every hurdle is an opportunity to learn and grow. So networking and building relationships within the industry would be another piece of advice I would give myself. The connections you make can open doors to like collaborative opportunities, mentorship, and even new perspectives that can significantly shape your career. Like I would stress the importance of communication skills. Yeah. You won't do, once you carry out this research and you're not able to explain yourself, your research is going nowhere. But if you develop your communication skills, being able to effectively convey complex scientific ideas to different audiences is as important as the research itself. Whether it's teaching, presenting at a conference, or writing a research paper, clear communications can make a significant difference in how our work is received and how it impacts our field and the society at large.
Well, that brings me to my last question, which is really about for the people who are working in satellite communications, for the people who are having to worry about the safety of their spacecraft in orbit, what do you think will be some of the outcomes of the work that you're doing now at the research level on that future? How is it going to help us do a better job of communicating across that atmosphere and also protecting ourselves against space weather incidents?
Well, that's a good question. In the field of atmospheric and space sciences, particularly in the context of space weather research, there are several evolving trends and developments that I believe would highly significantly in the future affect a lot of things and will be like, first, the increasing reliance on satellite technology for global communications, navigation, and observation. This increasing reliance on these technologies, they kind of makes it to the point that understanding and predicting space weather becomes more critical than ever. We need to understand what is happening, be able to predict space weather events, because if space weather events impacts our technology, we need to understand how critical it is. So in the near future, it will be more critical than ever to understand and be able to predict space weather events. So as we become more dependent on satellite-based technology, the potential impact of space weather on our daily lives and global economy becomes more profound. So my work in understanding the dynamics of the ionosphere-thermosphere system, especially in terms of viscosity role, it will contribute more to robust predictive models, helping to safeguard these vital systems like the global communication system, like I mentioned earlier. Well, another important development, I would say, is the advancements in data analytics and machine learning as well within space science. So the application of these technologies in analyzing vast amounts of satellites and observation data can revolutionize our ability to model and predict space weather phenomena with greater accuracy and even better efficiency. So this integration of cutting-edge computational technologies with traditional space weather research is an exciting frontier for the future. in my own words, like it's an exciting frontier to look forward to. And the growing focus on sustainability in space, including the concerns about space debris, like you mentioned earlier, and the long-term viability of satellite orbits. Those are becoming increasingly important in the sense that research in those areas will not only contribute to safer space operations, but also they will tend to align with global efforts towards sustainability and environmental stewardship. And so lastly, I think international collaboration in space and satellites area is also expanding. Like we're breaking down traditional barriers and leading to a more global approach to like tackling space weather challenges. So I also believe that in the near future, this collaborative approach will be crucial in considering the global nature of space weather impacts. So basically, I'm trying to say that the increasing reliance on satellite technology in our everyday lives, advancements of data analysis, the emphasis on sustainability and international collaborations are the key areas in space and satellites that I believe would have significant impacts in the future.
It's interesting listening to you. We have a program we run called Better Satellite World, in which we produce these short videos about the industry and its impacts. And the very first one we did, we called "What Has a Satellite Done for You Lately?"
Wow.
It's basically a cartoon, and it just talks about the fact that the entire world actually runs on this technology already, and is going to become even more dependent upon it, as you say, going forward. So thank you. I think that's a very good observation. And unfortunately, that has to be it for now. I want to thank you for sharing with our listeners, a look into a very different part of the industry than we often talk about. So it's been great, and congratulations once again on being one of our 20 under 35 and a Promise Award winner.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This was a productive one. I also get to learn a lot from you. So this was good. Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. Like any tech industry, the space and satellite business is driven by the ambition, by the knowledge, and the leadership skills of its people. In our Making Leaders series, we take time away from business plans and technology roadmaps to focus on the people making a difference. We thank SSPI's individual members and corporate partners, Access Intelligence, Hughes, and K&L Gates, for supporting the Making Leaders series, and Deloitte for underwriting our selection of the Promise Award winners. You can follow us on Twitter at SSPI. On Facebook or LinkedIn, just search for Space and Satellite Professionals. We're the only one. If you're not yet a member, well, I encourage you to become one by going to sspi.org/join. That's JOIN. For SSPI and Making Leaders, this is Robert Bell. And we're out. Okay, stop the recording.